观众朋友，大家好，欢迎收看最佳方案。一个人的一生中会面临着很多的选择。对许多人来说，人生中第一个重要的选择，也许就是以后上哪所大学，学什么专业。在美国呢，光是4年制的大学就有2800多所，还有数量众多的社区大学。在如此众多的大学当中，怎么样选择一个适合自己的学校和专业？今天呢，我们就请到了美国最著名的教育培训机构之一 The Princeton Review 的西岸副总裁 Ryan Cake 先生，来跟大家谈一谈怎么样选择一个适合自己的大学和专业的问题。
There's so many choices. There are actually 2,800 four-year schools just in the United States. It's not about going to the best college, it's about going to the right college. A right college in my mind is one a student can get into, one that they can excel at once they're there, and one their family can afford. Some students, obviously, they have a very specific career path they're looking for. And it's important to go to a college whose majors and areas of focus match that strength. So a great example would be a student pursuing a degree in engineering. Well, right in our own backyard with UCLA or just up the coast a little bit, Cal, Stanford, we have phenomenal engineering-based schools. But if a student wanted a liberal arts degree, they wanted to go study history or they want to be in sociology, well, there's a lot of different colleges I'd recommend for a student pursuing that may or may not even be in the state of California. Community colleges are phenomenal resources. They are great for students that maybe stumbled a little bit academically to start their high school career. A great example, again, locally, Santa Monica Community College. It actually leads the country in transfers to a four-year school. So it's a very, very great way to go in and end up positioning yourself to be accepted later at a four-year school. The one warning I'd give is that community colleges are dramatically impacted. There are so many students there. Sometimes it's difficult to actually get into the courses that you need in order to get your two-year degree. So sometimes what you hope would be 2 years takes 2.5 or 3 years just because of the difficulty to access the courses. It is far less expensive to spend 2 years at community college than any of the UCs or any of the private schools in the area if we take the idea of scholarship out of the conversation. University of Alabama. If you're an out-of-state applicant and you're accepted by University of Alabama and you have an ACT score of 32 or higher and a GPA of 3.8 and higher, it's actually a full ride scholarship to the university because they're trying to recruit great California talented students. But if you just looked at their website, you would see that it's an expensive school to attend. So applying and learning about your financial aid package is a big part of it. So if a student has actually done their work and performed well in the classroom, has a strong GPA at community college, their transfer path tends to be pretty easy, might be too extreme a word, but it seems to be fairly accessible. There's a really strong relationship between great grades in community college and success at a four-year school. The one problem is a lot of students that go to community college, because they're staying close to home, and they don't consider it quite as real a college experience, it's more likely that they take part-time hours, they work outside of the commitment to school. And so students who enter community college with the intention of going to a four-year school, only 30% of those students ever will. The first mistake I feel a lot of families make is they simply go for brand name schools. So in their mind, they've already associated that there are good schools and schools that are not as good, but they don't really know much about the university. Another thing is the idea of test scores alone making a huge difference in admissions. Test scores are definitely a part of the process. At most major universities, they're the second most important factor. You want to make sure as an applicant, if you want to be admissible, that your test scores are at the middle 50% of an admit class or higher, because that means there's no alarms about your scores. And if you need scholarship money to help pay down the cost of college, you want your test score to be in the top 25% of admitted students. But if your test score is already in the upper quartile of admitted students at a university, you don't need to continue to chase even higher scores. In fact, Yale could fill their class, freshman class, 3 times over with students that have perfect SAT scores that they deny. So it's not test scores alone, it's quality of essay, extracurriculars that speak to passions that you have, that you are an interested learner, so that letters of recommendation from your teachers make a big difference. So knowing, do you have a passion and a career in mind? So therefore, what majors and areas of study will you have to focus on? And is that a strength of that university? It is often better for a lot of students to be one of the best performing students at a college that maybe is a little smaller, not as well known. You get access to things like honors dorms, you get obviously scholarships, than to be a student that's just average at another university where there are no special resources for you, there's nothing that gives you a leg up. And a great example there would be the difference between maybe going to a UCLA versus maybe going to a school like Kansas State University. One, you might be one of the best students on campus, and in another, you might be struggling just to keep up. Obviously, whether it's UCLA or Stanford or Harvard or Princeton, there's a lot of great reasons to have that school in your background, but if you went there and you struggled, maybe you didn't actually get a chance to learn as much as you would have liked because you didn't have the ability to really keep up with the coursework, well, you're not necessarily going to be prepared to go off into a career. The best resource you have is definitely your high school and the folks on site for you. But the counselor to student ratio here in California is the worst in the nation. We're hovering at about 1,000 students for every one counselor at a high school campus. So you can have an amazing high school counselor. It doesn't mean they have the time to really spend with you one-on-one to really get to know you and personalize their recommendations.
由于学校里的资源不够，为了考出好的成绩，选择一所适合的大学，很多学生和家长会到校外寻求帮助，比如说找像 The Princeton Review 这样的机构进行咨询。那么，怎么样判断一个教育培训机构或者是补习中心的好坏呢？
Questions that I would have as a parent pursuing this is, what is the background of your instructors? What is your training like? Do you have a rigorous training to help improve and amplify the success of your instructors? What is your curriculum like? Have you really crafted and created your own curriculum, which means you really know it and own it and understand it, as opposed to maybe borrowing from another company's curriculum? And I'd also want to know, do you have college admissions landscape knowledge? Are you interacting regularly with universities and really finding out what they're looking for in applicants? Any learning center you work with hopefully is not focused on just tutoring or just test scores. Hopefully they're really looking at the outcome, because really the only thing that matters is, did you get to a school that you're happy with? Are you successful there? And have you made a smart choice for you? Major is the greatest predictor of your future income, even more so than the college you went to. And the example I often use is, you can graduate with a degree in accounting from Cal State Northridge, and you are going to be more employable and have a higher starting salary than a student that graduated from Harvard with a degree in sociology. And then you have to choose what's important to you. If going to college is really an ROI choice, I want to go to college and be best positioned for a lucrative career, well, then you're going to want to look at fields right now in engineering and the STEM program. So the highest average starting salary right now goes to students who graduate with petroleum engineering degrees. So there's a lot of companies investing a lot of money in that right now. In fact, University of Colorado Mining College, their degrees have an average starting salary of about $85,000, which is a nice job out of college, right? So anything in engineering, obviously computer engineering is still a really safe field for securing great jobs. For a fun one for students, there's actually now a booming business in video game design. Lots of students that a high-paying job isn't the only thing that they're looking for. I'd still say there's an argument for humanities degrees, going and pursuing a literature degree, or maybe just an English degree in film studies. There's some real great benefits to a liberal arts education. It is not as focused on career readiness for a specific field. Instead, it prepares you for a more well-rounded, more thoughtful approach.
The Princeton Review 每年发布的大学排行榜呢，在教育界广受关注。2015年，一共有379所大学上了这个排行榜。在编制过程当中呢，他们一共对15万的大学生进行了问卷调查。下面呢，我们就请 Ray Kick 先生来给大家介绍几所让他印象深刻的大学。
Chapman University is right down in Orange County. They're a liberal arts school, but that's starting to focus quite a bit more on the performing arts and film studies. They've gone a long way in trying to be at least the equal of UCLA when it comes to film studies, to the point that they actually have a fully functioning film studio on site, and actually they award a scholarship to make a movie once a year for one of their graduates. Kansas State University has a 99 out of 100 quality of life rating in our book. So students absolutely love going to this university. Strong academic programs, beautiful campus, and it currently has a 99% admissions rate. State School in New York in Albany, they have invested heavily in nanotechnology. New York now has one of the more thriving Silicon Valley rivals in terms of investments in technology. It's a great example of a university dedicated to changing the resources and the quality for their students in a very short period of time, has really become a leader in the communities. Unfortunate perception is that it's so hard to get into colleges, and colleges just, they're turning students down left and right. But when you think about it, students are the customer, right? They're the ones that are going to pay the bills for universities. They're actually competing for you. Again, I'll use a local example. UCLA, they receive about 100,000 applications right now for freshman year. They end up with about 20 to 22,000 students that they admit. So they're only admitting about 20% of their applicant pool. So the perception is, I can't believe UCLA, how are they turning away so many students? But the stat no one talks about that I think is interesting is of the 22,000 admitted, only a little over 4,000 actually show up. That other 16,000 or 15,000 and change, they're turning down UCLA. So schools are competing all the time. It's why they will give scholarship dollars to students. It's why they try and have the best facilities possible. And if you ever go on a campus tour, you'll see that they want every student to walk away feeling like this is the best choice for them. So I encourage families to take advantage of that. If you're ever accepted by a school and offered a scholarship, and there's another school you're accepted by that doesn't offer you a scholarship, have your son or daughter call that second school and say, you're really my top choice, but over here, Columbia or University of Chicago, they're giving me a scholarship. If you can match it, I want to go to your school, and sometimes they will. Four to six schools was kind of the magic number 15, 20 years ago. Now you hear of students applying, to your point, 20 universities. To me, the right answer is probably in that 7 to 9 area. It's always a little different, but what that means is you have 7 to 9 schools that if you got into and had the chance to go to any of them, you would be happy. Make sure that you're not selecting your college only because of its brand reputation, because some colleges have a lot more to spend on marketing than others. Make sure it's not just because they play football on Saturdays on TV, which is how we hear about a lot of colleges. Think about the kind of student you are. Do you want big lecture center style classes where it's not uncommon to have 500 students in a lecture hall with one professor? Or do you want to be at a university where the average class size is 20 students? And I'm not saying one is better than the other. They're the same in terms of quality, but for different students, they will feel very differently being in those classes. So you want to know more about a university and also know what their strengths are. You should go to a college that is strong in the major or pursuit you want, because sometimes a college's reputation is built on something that is not what you're going to pursue when you get there. So you're actually positioning yourself to struggle.
最后呢，再告诉大家一个也许您还不知道的消息。在美国呢，其实有800多所大学是不需要学生有 SAT 或者是 ACT 的入学考试成绩的。如果您想知道这800多所大学有哪些，可以到 The Princeton Review 的网站或者是 Fair Test 网站上去查询。好，谢谢您的收看，我们下次节目再会。